Hello. Hey, it's Alex from Blue Lightning Software. I wanted to do a stream today, actually, working more on the code for Questmaster's Realm, which game it's on Steam. It's out now. It's MMORPG. You can play it. We're in early access. It's live, but in early access. And what I'm looking at today is I should have popped this up on a. This is part of the topic. Unity has its own controller. If you're familiar with, that's what loosely this session's going to be. This stream is going to be about adjusting something that doesn't have job system code to have more job system, to inject some job system jobs, the multi-threaded mathematics stuff, into a existing code. So I'm all about refactoring. If I was going to like do this series of stuff and just go on about everything, it would be about refactoring, I guess, is probably what I'm really into. I've kind of, like, say you write the base, okay, and you just get a game running, and then you change stuff within it without a complete rewrite. That's refactoring. You know, you just change what's there. Look at this though. This is great. This came out in 2017. You know, like Kinematic Controller. These, you know, controllers. You have a capsule representing your third person or first person, even. You know, anyone in the game, NPCs, whatever, they can have a controller that would be represented by a capsule. That, you know, if you're familiar with that concept, then great. But here we can see the advert kind of trailer thing for this one. All the stuff it can do. How does actually this one does that too much. Did you see it bump around? It bumps upstairs. It's too good, this one. It's the one I use in Questmaster's Realm. Is this? The guy who wrote it went on. He released Rival, which was like a dot system. Now, the difference between a dot system, if I turn the noise down, the difference with a dot system is that basically everything. Look at all the structures in this. You know, the difference between game objects. It goes way beyond the job system in that entities, you know, the entity components system is what dots is all about. Data orientated. What does dots stand for? Dots Unity. Data orientated technology stack. Yeah. I mean, you can Google all this. It's to do with ECS, like the entity system. Now, what's great about that is that all this character controller rolling around on these things, yeah, what it's doing all the time. See, it's staying upright, it's on weird slopes, and it's still upright. The capsule's holding up, the capsule wobbles over circles in this case, and it's stuck to it with like a gravity, all of that. It's incredible what it's doing. It bumps into objects, it's blocked by those objects, you know. How is this occurring? It's all about that. And it's to do with colliders. I mean, in this case, you have no collider switched on. It's kinematic, so the collider switched off. It tests itself with physics. So that's what I was waffling on about, the ECS model with dots itself. What you can do is you can test all the physics within entity space, within dots. So you have dots physics, okay, which is a huge benefit. You know, I don't have it. If I was going to totally rewrite, I tried putting dots into it. But what went wrong for me is getting new. It's almost production ready now. I mean, they say it's production ready now, I think. The job system totally is, and burst and all this, yeah. But yeah, I couldn't get the graphics working, because if a game object, you have to create it all within the entity space, you know, the dots entity component system space. You have to convert the whole project so every mesh, every game object has become an entity kind of thing into that space, and within that space it has reference to its geometry or whatever. It's total waffle. And because of that, it can cast physics on it. So I mean, if we look at this thing, what's going on when it goes through a movement, it goes to hit internal handle velocity projection, character collision overlap. You've got overlap capsule non-alloc. This is using regular Unity physics. Now the difficulty is this is physics on the Unity main thread. That means that we can't jobify this. We can't put this into a job, this physics, yeah. That's why dots ECS, if you build with that, I mean, you can convert, you can bake your game objects into it. But I was struggling to get the graphics working. All right, some things showed up and some stuff didn't. There's like a hybrid render. The graphics is still being changed, I think. I don't know if it's finalized in the next Unity version or whatever. I mean, because Questmaster's Realm is in production, I don't want to go with something that's going to be changing too much either. I think they are fixed on a final model. I think the graphics is finalized. I just haven't converted the project to dots at this point, and I don't think I'm about to do it. So we're left with the physics within Unity main thread. You know, it's this single-threaded Unity to do any of this stuff. The overlap capsule non-allocated. So it's just, you know, this takes the overlap colliders. It's like predefined because it's non-allocating. The return array of things it's overlapping with in this case is predefined array overlap. Here, colliders here, this collider array, you know, it's going to detect stuff like that. So there it goes. The character collisions, you know, it's got internal probed colliders. It takes yeah, these are all prepared in advance, and then it uses these. So it works out what's overlapping with its capsule as it's moving around. So we can think what it's doing. It's a capsule, it's moving around. If anything's overlapping with it, okay, it kind of this thing's totally free, by the way, if I've still got it up. It's pretty decent. I think it's still yeah, still free. This is great. I mean, look at the reviews. Works expected best. It's incredible. It used to cost $60, but now it's free. I think that's to do with him moving. It's certainly free when I got it 2 years ago, whatever it was. and it is free now, and it's decent. Interesting. So it does all those tests for you to say, oh, where's the floor? Am I bumping through the floor? You know, am I falling through the floor? Are there stairs? All that stuff. It does all of it. Wow. Well, anyway, and it kind of does that with a load of physics tests. Yeah, it all loops. It's really good. It's a good pattern. It's quite close to, this is the best, I think, best pattern for a lot of stuff in Unity, is to do what it's doing. It's not got an update on each of, every time you make one of these motors and start using it, it registers itself to this character system. This thing, the character system, is sure creation. It's like a static instance of this whole system. Some stuff on there. Yeah, capacity, register and unregister. Yeah, so it registers them and unregisters them. So then what it can do, which it does do, I've just commented out all of these physics movers and stuff, right? It's got tons of stuff it can do. It can do the whole, if you register them, like moving floors, all this, rotating moving floors, everything like that, it would do it. Yeah, with physics movers. These are the characters, the character motors. Registers them, pre-simulation, interpolation, update, simulate. Essentially, simulate is called on the fixed update. Yeah. If it kind of if you have settings interpolate on, what that is doing, I'm so waffling. There's so much going on in this that I'm just, you know, I'm going to waffle my way through it, and hopefully some will rub off. You know, you can pick up some of what you may know already. So let's have a look. Every fixed updates are when the physics happens. So that's why I was using fixed update. It goes through and simulates. Okay, you can see it's wrapped up with pre-simulation, interpolation, and post-simulation if interpolate is on. The other time it does this is in late update. What that is doing is lerping out this. I was thinking about this. I'm not going to do it because of the timing. It's hard to do this in jobs. Maybe. Not if you stopped it all within this. What it would work out is if you have physics movers, it might be worth doing. But these two lines, I mean, is something we could test. We could test a quaternion slurp and a vector 3 lerp. Yeah, if you did those in dots, just those two, is a job going to be quicker? Because that's the kind of stuff I was looking at. What would be quicker? The post-simulation and pre-simulation just fix the positions before and after, and it's kind of like the time of it as well. And that's used in this late update to actually display graphically the character moving. It kind of interpolates between these settings based on the time of the actual late update, if that makes sense. So given a fixed update, your frame rate, the fixed update is something like 50 frames per second. Your late update is outside that time at a different time, and the interpolation just smooths out the movement based on the time of your actual frame rate. Okay, and that's, so if you ignore that, and that's interpolating. Simulate happens every fixed update. Update phase 1. I commented out all the physics movers. Yeah, I'm assuming at this point I'm saying I don't have moving floors. All right, we could easily add moving floors. This thing would deal with moving floors. Yeah. Right now we're not using physics movers. Okay, and they could be things like blocks that move into you and push you out of the way, all that kind of stuff. That just doesn't exist at the moment in the game, but it could do. You know, it just switch these back on. Okay, so you got update phase 1. It's a really good comment somewhere. Update phase 1, like all this stuff, yeah. So it goes through, it checks any nans. No, they're all good. It sets up all these basic things. If solve movement collisions, wherever that's set. All right, this is saying that actually we never use that. All right, but it is used somewhere. It's any overlaps, that kind of thing, and it deals with it. So if anything has come into overlap with you, any of the other stuff moving around at this point possibly, then it does it. Ground probing, this is quite important. I didn't really check these, that timing of these, because I removed some of this stuff that I don't use. Man, it's weird, tiring me out just talking about this. You can almost assume that we know all this, but yeah, it can't hurt to go over it anyway. So what it deals with is the ground. A lot of it is dealing with the ground and probing of the ground, yeah, and fitting to the ground with like gravity and physics, yeah. I'm not using rigid bodies, essentially. Then, where does this come from? It was where we were. The simulate phase, essentially, it's the phase 2, okay. What is that? Why didn't I? Oh, because it uses the reference here, motor transform set position. This is where it sets it post phase 2. Now what my cunning plan is, let's try this yourself. I didn't want to spend hours talking about it. I just wanted to, demonstrate how we could get some jobs going. What occurs in here, if you ignore these two, right? This probably don't do this in yours because it would blow up. Can you see the positioning of these? Because I'm not getting rid of them because you might. All right, I don't use move rotation dirty, and I don't. That's a really hard concept. The dirty move, yeah, is when you reposition the capsule, but you want it to simulate what happened. Yeah, then it creates a move rotation dirty, and it kind of checks that the movement was possible, or you can circumvent that, which is probably what I do. It kind of leaves us with update rotation and update velocity at the start of this. That probably goes horribly wrong if we move those, so just think about that if you're doing that. If you do use either of these, which I don't, so it doesn't matter, I could comment them out and it'll be fine. So what you're left with are character controller stuff. Now the character controller is your interpretation of what happens with certain things on your controller. Okay, what happens when you jump? How does your movement work? All this kind of thing, yeah. Timings and stuff. I mean, this is very much based on the default kind of like included one. And it's just chopped around a bit so you can change how you handle movement with the relation to controllers, that kind of thing. So you got your controller is telling it how to move, yeah. So I mean, I just pass these in and tell it to jump and stuff from certain places. Alright, I'm so tired just talking about this. I'm thinking about how much of the code. I'll probably do this in 2 parts because I don't feel like I can lay all the code down right now. Getting a bit croaky as well. Yep. But it calls update rotation, which ultimately, right, I use this. Bonus rotation is like gravity, how you align to, if you're going up a slope, do you point off at a funny angle up? Mine just stays vertical. It doesn't have a bonus orientation on my one. It sounds like it should be towards gravity, but I don't think it does. I think mine just... Mode a character up. I think mine stays vertical throughout. You could argue about these, isn't it? Alright, that's just me. There's another bit where it does this. My only gripe, the whole thing, yeah, I mean, just so you don't have to square magnitude. I found like 2, that was it. And the whole thing, it's not a lot of change really, but I don't, who knows. Anyway, we're going to change all of this anyway. If look input vector, the look direction, I'm going to get this so wrong, so it's going to be embarrassing as well. You're going to see me mess this up big time. Get everything horrendously wrong. What it's saying, if the look vector is not 0 and orientation sharpness is greater than 0, i.e. orientation sharpness is the speed at which you orientate to the suggested look input vector, which is how you pass in the look, or which way the capsule is supposed to be facing. It will then turn it to that using slurp and look rotation. Ultimately we want that to go into dots, and that is totally possible. You got these vector 3 slurps, total dots beginner like myself. You got those functions in mathematics.math. This is the latest, I think, or close to it, if it isn't, which is going to allow us to do all kinds of stuff. Yes, quaternion is slurp, and vector, which is float 3. It's really interesting. There's quaternions in this. It's not using vector 4s or float 4s, it's using quaternions, and float 3s have slurp, etc. So what is this? Swizzles a vector. It's going to be swizzling. Anyway, lurp and slurp. Can lurp all kinds of stuff. We'd probably be doing float 3s for vectors. I think the belief is, whilst you could declare a vector in burst, it works best with float 3s. So it's going to be these 2 lines. It's like with that bit I showed earlier with the, is that enough on its own to get a job and outperform it? I don't know. I mean, I'm probably going to test the other one later, but the fact is, it then goes into more character controller. If by moving these 2 statements, which may want to be before that, but never mind, I'm sure we can hack around that. That's setting the transient rotation. Now, this doesn't set transient movement. This sets updates velocity. So what's going on? Your controller updates the velocity using this. Here it is. If motor is stable on ground, do all this. I scouted this out. It all looks solid. I'm pretty sure there's no physics in here, because this is your bit. This is where you input your movement directions. But there's a lot of stuff, weirdly, just in that. a lot of vector dots, vector crosses, projections, all kinds of stuff, yeah, that goes on based on this is right. So saying if on ground, this ground movement or air movement, add move input. So if you ground it, it does all of this. How much work is in that? Get direction, tangent to surface, just a couple of things. That referenced back to the motor, all right, but here's my one note for the whole thing, I think, is to character up function, right? All we really need is motor character up, because what I'm thinking, because when you go to this, within the motor, all it uses is character up within the motor, yeah, and these vector 3 cross functions. So if we pull character up, we're good. So I think that's the only point where it leaves this. It doesn't need the motor, it just needs the motor character up. It then goes through and it just needs these things passed into a job somehow. But you can see, I mean, all right, so if it was doing this, it would just be those two lines, across and across, because it creates that one with a cross right. I'll do this in something else for a weird reason, the exact same thing. You cross right and then you cross the surface, yeah. And it kind of gives you the direction that comes out from that. The rotation of your character's alignment to the ground in terms of his forward direction is what comes out of that. Get direction, tangent to surface. I'm not great. I mean, I've studied this a bit. I know vector math, but I don't know it that well. You know, honestly, if you told me to describe these, it'd come out badly. Then it does a couple more crosses. Having not tested these functions, but just looking at the fact that just two simple vector additions seem to break even with jobs, I'm convinced that now we've done like 4 crosses, we're probably good for a job. Yeah, because, and then also one of those is multiplied and another multiplication. That's kind of like the minimal, and then a lerb. Can you see what I mean? That's done plenty of vector math well enough to get a job. You know, a burst compiled job is going to outperform that by miles, all multi-threaded as well. That's what I'm looking for in these. We should be looking for these kind of opportunities. That this is happening every frame in the late update. No, sorry, the fixed update. Every fixed update, this is occurring on however many of these characters we've got, which I use for NPCs as well, and I do use this for the NPC, not just character controlled stuff. I pass in a lot of the information. It sounds silly now, but you know, you could have calculated, you'd have to calculate all this, whatever, so I just pass into this and it calculates it to get your velocities. Air movement, so you're jumping or you're in the air doing whatever, equals vector multiplication, vector projection, a magnitude, clamp magnitude of a sum, subtraction, vector subtraction, tons of stuff. You know, if magnitude is less than max air, all right, so if you are below the air velocity limit, do all this, which had to find its magnitude. I mean, I'm just saying there's enough there always, every time. So if you're in the air or not, you're doing plenty of work. If you found the ground, the grounding stuff, then do these. do a vector addition. That burst is going to kill this, to get out and kill it in terms of being much faster than this ever is. That's, you know, I think that's a good opportunity to put some dots in, you know, and dots, sorry, wrong term, jobs, trying to explain earlier, jobs, not dots. Dots is the ECS, that's how I'm expressing it and seeing it, that the entities component system is the data orientated technology system, that is dots is ECS, that's how I'm seeing it. Unity dots is ECS, part of that. I mean, what he's saying, some of these is burst and jobs part of dots. Yes, it is. All right, burst is part of dots. But dots in this sense, I'm thinking more of ECS when I say dots. Although burst and jobs are what allow you to operate, work in tandem with ECS to fully create dots. Dots, I'm not seeing dots. I'm saying they are part of dots, let's face it. But, you know, ECS, the difference between full ECS, call it, is that you have those physics, you know, with all the physics as well. You know, the time scale, you'd be destroying normal non-dots, non-burst, you know, non-ECS physics, if you can pump it through a job system, essentially, with, like, you know, entities running multi-threaded like the job system, and the job system can call physics in the ECS. All right, but we're not doing that. But we're using jobs and the burst compiler to massively increase the speed with multi-threading and burst compile. It's just, you know, fantastic where we can do it. And this is really clean. You could spend forever looking at it, doing the rest of it, trying to thread it around the physics calls, because they're all in loops where it takes something and it finds what it's looping, and then it loops those. And no, I mean, maybe it's your own wizard project. You can do that. I mean, the guy who wrote this moved on to ECS almost as soon as it came out, by the looks of it, you know, and just raves about how good dots is. So, because it's perfect for that kind of thing. But this, we can speed this section that is the, you know, this is added by the user kind of thing. I'd go along with the don't mess around with the motor too much, although we did change something. This is the, you know, that's the third party. This is kind of a copy of the third party template, but the design of it, weirdly, this can be set into jobs pretty easily looking at it. That's what I'm saying. It's new. I mean, there's too much physics in the rest of it. See, if you're not in the ECS world, then alas, I don't see the getting the physics wrapped up in jobs is going to look too good. So, like, I look through these. There's a few little bits like these, but they're all in loops, you know, with the overlaps or the overlapping capsules, and then no, I'm not seeing it myself. I mean, it's possible, but yeah. But we're taking update phase 2. We got these 2 character controllers that these are in the middle of the 2. We've moved them up to the top. This is the, you know, the bit you yourself code out the rotation and the velocity. We could job this, return to the rest of it in update phase 2. It's almost like it would go here. Right, these physics movers, I'll stop using them. Mention that. So we could inject our jobs here. That's what I'm saying. Pre-update phase 2. stripping these two out. Yep, that's what I was getting ready to do. You know, I kind of learned in a series of videos I just did that it took me a couple of days to learn the job system, so I'm kind of new to it. But given that this is just the groundwork waffle to explain the plan, we could have dived straight in. Maybe if I call it there, then, and that's the introduction. I'll go take a drink and a tea, and I'll come back and we jump straight in, yeah, and the rest of it will be no waffle, straight to the code. So that might be a good idea to break these up doing that anyway. So I'm going to cut out now and come back shortly with the next stream.